pie charts is what we're looking at in this video. So we're going to start off by looking at examples on drawing pie charts, but then going to move on to examples looking at interpreting pie charts, and finally we're going to look at examples where we're asked to complete a table. So the way my video is, I'm going to do the example on the left, which is I do, you are then going to press pause, and I've got the example on the right, which is you do. So here we've been asked to represent the following data as a pie chart. So we've been given some data, and what's important to note here is that the total angles in a pie chart add up to 360. So we know that this column here, just use a bigger pen, this column here is going to add up to 360 degrees because that's what a circle adds up to. And if we add up the column on the left, this adds up to 90. Now, to go from 90 to 360, we are going to times by 4, which means we're going to multiply each of the frequency by 4. And if I do that, I get 108 degrees, 36 degrees, 72 degrees, and 144 degrees. Okay, so we've converted the frequency into an angle, and now we've got that. We can draw that onto a pie chart. So dogs will be 108. So what I'm going to do here is I am going to quickly grab my ruler, and I'm going to put that there. And I like to start off by just drawing a line here, so we have a point of reference. So we've got that line there now. You can get rid of the ruler, and now I'll bring in my protractor, and I will put the protractor on the center right there, and I am going to measure 108 degrees. So if I use a different color, now 108 degrees on here is about there. So if I move this to the right and I bring my ruler back in, I'm going to rotate my ruler. There we go. And I'm now going to draw that line. So that is that there. Okay, and that is, I'm just going to the ruler, 108 degrees, and that is for dog. Now moving on, we have 36 for the next one. So if I just rotate this way and put it on here and make sure that's all lined up and put that back in the center right there. So we are now measuring 36 degrees. So 0 to 36 is going to be about there. And again, move that to the side, bring my ruler back in, grab my pen, and we are going to draw a line from the center, looking at where the dot is. Perfect. And draw the line. Now this is cat, and this is, as an angle, this is 36 degrees. Moving on, we have 72 for fish, and if I bring my protractor back, so if I line that up with this part here, there we go. And if I measure 36, so 72 will be there. And if I get rid of that again, so bring my ruler back in, and from the center, it's a little bit tricky on the iPad, but we want to be as accurate as we can. So there we go. And that is, oh, wrong color. That is that there. And if I just get rid of the ruler, now the last one has been done for us. So this is fish, which is 72 degrees. And then the last one is, of course, going to be rabbit. We don't need to measure that one. That is just going to be what's left over, which is 144 degrees. So hopefully that was clear. Now press pause, and I've got the example on the right. So hopefully the first thing you did is understand that angles in a pie chart or a circle add up to 360. And then you add the frequency up and you realize, well, actually this adds up to 120. No, degrees, just 120. So to go from 120 to 360, we are going to times by 3, which means we're going to multiply each of the frequencies by 3. So if I multiply this by 3, I get 72, 108, 36, and 144. And I'm going to grab my ruler. Now I'll actually start by drawing a line of reference, so we have somewhere to start with. So I'll draw a line across from the center there. And if I get rid of my ruler, I will now bring in my protractor. Put that there, make it a little bit bigger. So 72 is what I'm measuring. So 72, if I just zoom into this a little bit, 72 is right there. So get rid of that, bring the ruler back. Awesome. Now the other one is 108. Now 172 minus and 108 would just become 180. So we know that it's going to be a straight line through there. There we go. So if we draw that in, this is 72 degrees. And this is for water. This is for juice. And this is 108 because angles have a straight line out of 180. So we know how to do them too. And now we just need to do cola. So if I spin this around, put that in the center. So cola is 36, and oops. So if I put that there, that goes there. And that is that line there. And this is 36 degrees, 144 degrees, and this is a little shake. So yeah, that is that there. Now here's 2 practice questions for you to have a go at. Feel free to press pause and have a go. I have linked the slides down in the comments below, so you can print them off and have a go at this. Here are the answers, mark your work. And now moving on, we're looking at questions with interpreting pie charts. So we've got a pie chart that shows 24 fruit choices. So we've got grapes, banana, and oranges. And it says how many people like banana. Now, we know that as an angle, banana is 90 degrees because that's a right angle there. So this is 90 degrees. What fraction of the pie chart is banana? Well, as a fraction, that would be 90 out of, we know a circle adds up to 360. So as a fraction, it's that. We're then going to multiply that by how many fruit they are to get our answer. So as a fraction, we have 90 over 360, which is a quarter, which then becomes 6. So 6 people like banana. Then it says how many people like oranges. Now oranges, again, as a fraction, is 120 out of 360. Times that by 24. And we get 8. And then it says how many people like grapes. Now with grapes, you don't know what this angle is, right? But we do know that angles in a triangle add up to 360. So if you did 360, take away 120 and 90, you would get 150. So this is 150. And again, we can write this as a fraction. So as a fraction, that's 150 out of 360 times that by 24. And that gives us an answer of 10. And you can always total this up to make sure your answer is right. So if you add 10 plus 8, that's 18. Add 6, that gives you 24, which means your answer is right. So hopefully you've pressed pause and I look at the example on the right. So it says the pie chart shows 32 color choices. How many people like red? Now, what is red as a fraction? So as a fraction in the pie chart, red is 135 out of 360 times that by 32. So 135 out of 360 times 32, that gives me 12. How many people like blue? So that would be 45 out of 360 times 32. So 45 out of 360 times 42 is 4. And then finally, how many like green? So that is just going to be what's left over. So this angle here, that's left, because angles in a circle add up to 180. 360, sorry, this must be 180. So that means this is going to be, as a fraction, green is 180 out of 360. Times that by 32, which gives you 16. Again, you can add this up to make sure you get the same answers. If you add 16, 4, and 12 for all the colors, you end up with 32. So here's some practice questions. Press pause and have a go. Here are the answers. Mark your work. Now, finally, we're going to look at completing the table. So here the pie chart shows 24 people's food choices. We've got banana, oranges, grapes again. We've got a table that's incomplete. Okay, so we know that in total, this adds up to 24 because we've been told that in the question. But we don't know what this is or this is. So looking at this, we can use that same rule we started with. Angles in a circle add up to 360. Well, how do you go from 24 to 360? Well, you're going to times by 15. So if I times this by 15, I get 150. Now you know what this is going to be because angles in a circle add up to 360. So that is going to be 90 degrees. Okay. Now that you know this, to go backwards, we're just going to divide by 15. So if you do 90 divide that by 15, you get 6. And then again, to go backwards, we're just going to do 120, divide that by 15, and we get 8. So the key to doing this question really is starting off here. How do you go from the total frequency to the total angle? And then that tells you to go this way, you are going to multiply, and then to go this way, you are going to divide. So again, hopefully you've pressed pause and had a quick example on the right. So here we have 36 people's food choices. So we know this adds up to 336. We know that this adds up to 360. We know that to go from here to here, we times by 10. So if I times this by 10, that's 140, that's 130. And we know there's 36 people altogether. So if I subtract that from 36, this becomes 9, because I can do 14 plus 13 minus 36. And then that missing angle, so that's 140 plus 130, which is 270, which means the missing angle must be 90. And that is that. So here's some practice questions. Press pause and have a go. Here are the answers. Mark your work. Now, if you would like some more practice on this, I have got a full worksheet over on my website linked in the comments below. Do check it out. And if you found this video useful, I've got loads of other content like this on my channel.